The following episode may contain inappropriate material. Listener discretion is advised.
Everybody, welcome to another fabulous edition of Mattalk. I am Jay Deeney the Great, joined by my lovely assistant, John, I Need a Nap, Orlando. Today is a very significant day in your life, and I just want to take 1 second to say, happy birthday to you. I'm not going to sing the whole song because I can't sing, but happy birthday, man.
Thank you very much. I do appreciate it. We are recording this on Saturday, April 9th, which is my birthday. And, it's great to get all the love from, so many different people as my personal Facebook page. My phone has been blowing up all day today with all of the happy birthday texts and messages and whatnot. And I really do appreciate it. It's just another day, man, when you get to a certain age, right? Like, I think everybody can relate to that. Like, you're cool when you hit 18, then you're cool when you hit 21, and then maybe even 25, and then, they kind of just another day, birthdays. But, look at it this way. It's another year on this planet. But wait a minute. Why do I get to be called I Need a Nap? What's up with that?
You look like you need a nap. You look exhausted.
I am not. Dude, I got great sleep. Is it because I'm unkempt? For people that don't know, I have not combed my hair today. I need to trim my beard. It's a mess. I need to shave. So I look horrible. I agree to that.
No, you just look tired. That's all. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to offend.
I'm not.
Don't yell at me, John.
Well, hey, as we learned from this episode of Matlock, an argument probably leads to murder. So we don't want to argue, Jason. Neither one of us want to die.
No, because I don't want the police to find this thing recording on your computer and be like, oh, it was Jason. And I'll be like, no, it wasn't me. I wasn't even there. I didn't touch the knife, I swear.
I think if it was a podcast murder, like somebody would have to get like hit in the bludgeon with like a microphone or something. If we were doing like a podcast murder, if that was the central plot of an episode of Matlock.
I like that.
There you go.
Is nothing sacred, though, in Matlock? Like, do we really have to do a crime with magicians? I love magicians. Like, why do magicians have to be involved in a crime? Can't we just have one thing that's sacred in these shows?
You are a big fan of Penn and Teller. I know that.
I am, man. I a little spoiler alert going into the episode, but I am just like Matlock when I'm around magicians. Like, I just get excited. I can't figure out how they did it, and I leave in amazement. I've seen Penn and Teller live, and I thought they were just, man, it was unbelievable, the stuff I saw.
I say this all the time, and, listeners to this podcast know that I'm a huge wrestling fan, and I kind of feel the same way. Pro wrestling is like going to see a magician for me, because that there's something up. Even as a little kid, I was like, there's something up to this, but I don't know what it is. And I didn't care, because that was the fun part of it. It was like, oh, I don't know how this is done, but this is done so cool. Then I'm going to sit here for an hour and watch it on TV, so I can empathize. I don't think I've ever seen an actual magician. I remember my friend had one come to a birthday party, and one of the other kids heckled him so badly that like he left early. He did not do the full set.
Did he leave crying? That'd be funny.
I don't think he cried, but I remember the kid like heckling him. And the only reason why I know that is that kid was a hellion. And he's the only kid that was banned from coming to my house. He was not allowed to come over because he was so unruly. There you have it. There's a little history from the Orlando files, if you will. Not to be confused with the Rockford files. That's two different things.
They used to have a magician at Wyandotte Lake that I would go. I'd watch the show every day, even though it was the same show. And I'd leave just as amazed as I was the day before.
It was the same show every day?
Yeah, pretty much, because we had season tickets, and I liked magicians, so I'd go and watch the show. I had it memorized, but I couldn't figure out how I did any of the tricks.
Well, you'll share something in common with Matlock because poor old Ben can't figure out the magician tricks either. Shall we go ahead and jump into our opening statements?
Oh man, this is going to be a little bit of a spoiler as well, but I cannot wait to talk about this episode.
All right, with that then, ladies and gentlemen, let's get to our opening statements. We are talking about the episode called The Magician. It originally aired on March 22nd, 1988. And Jason, we have a couple of guest stars that we need to talk about. Let's talk about Peter I believe it's pronounced Fracchetti. He will be playing the role of Jimmy Collier. You may know him from his other many roles, including playing the role of George Fraley on Profiler, Peter Montefiore on the drama 30-something, Harry DeBow on Dream Street, and Christopher Appleton on L.A. Law. Does that name ring a bell?
Not really, but I want to watch L.A. Law because I know they're rebooting it, and it's a law show, and I love law shows, but I can't find it anywhere.
It's not even on Peacock? That's where I would go because that was an NBC powerhouse for years.
I'll have to double check Peacock. I think I checked everywhere but Peacock.
Well, there you go. All right, our next guest star, and I'm going to do the very best I can to pronounce this name. Oba Babatuni. And he actually, as I wrote him down as a guest star because he has quite a few credits to his name, I literally think he's only in the episode like 30 seconds. But I put him down because you might know him as Daniel Harrelson Sr. on the CBS hit show SWAT, where he has been a recurring character. He's a recurring character called Dean Fairbanks on the show Dear White People. And I had to put it down because it's one of my favorite movies of all time. He also plays the role of Osiris in the movie Black Dynamite.
Nice.
And let's move on over to another fantastic actor, Harry Groner, who will be playing the role of Rod Greenwood. You may know him as Joe on 911 Lone Star, Clint on How I Met Your Mother, Gunther the Chef on Las Vegas, and I personally know him as Mayor Wilkins from Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
That's who that was.
Mm-hmm.
I knew he looked familiar. I just couldn't place him. Speaking of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, I just bought the whole series yesterday on DVD.
Did you now?
Yep, $20.
What? Oh well,
yeah.
I mean, I bought it years ago, and it was a little more expensive than that to complete.
Mom's
series.
like, "Why do you want that? Isn't it on streaming?" And I'm like, "Yeah, but they're censoring shows now, and with the creator being somewhat of a
problematic
issue,
person."
Yeah, so I kind of want to own the series, so I know that I can watch it when I want to.
Jason, are you a fan of the 911 shows, by the way? I was just curious, since Harry was in 911 Lone Star.
I've watched some of Lone Star. I really like the 911 proper. I need to go and watch 911 Lone Star, but I have not yet.
Okay. All right, and our last guest star is a gentleman named Michael E. Knight. He will play the role of Daniel Fontaine. Now, he's not Michael Knight. That's Knight Rider, totally separate entity. I don't think anyone would get that confused, but just in case. You may know him for various roles. This guy's got quite a resume. He was Martin Gray on General Hospital, Dr. Neville on The Young and the Restless, and he played a character named Tad Martin on two separate different soap operas, one being All My Children and the other one called One Life to Live. If I'm not mistaken, I believe that one of those was a spinoff of the other. Like either One Life to Live spun off All My Children or vice versa. I'm not sure.
I think they're on separate networks, John. I think One Life to Live is on NBC and All My Children. That's a good question. For some reason I was thinking General Hospital, but...
Well, General Hospital is ABC for sure. I know that. But, I mean, let's be honest. We're in the era now where, midday TV is dominated by different, judge shows or talk shows or whatever. We're not quite the, the way it was back in the day where you had 3 or 4 soap operas on in the middle of the day. In fact, I don't even know what soap operas are out there anymore. I think they've all pretty much ended, right? Except for The Young and the Restless, I think is still going on.
General Hospital's still going on, and I believe One Life, All My Children is back too. I don't know, one of them is back.
Okay. Well, you know what? Hey, folks, if you watch soap operas, maybe you can let us know. Solve this mystery for us, please, between All My Children, One Life to Live. The Guiding Light, Days of Our Lives, etc., etc. And Jason, how can they get in touch with us?
Email us at benmattalk@gmail.com. Say hi. Say how you doing. I'd love to just talk to you. Give me your thoughts on the slap heard around the world. Whatever you want to talk about, I am happy to indulge.
You had to bring up that, didn't you? I mean, I know it's topical, but anyways, or you can get in touch with us on Twitter or Facebook. On Facebook, we are at Mattalk Podcast, or on Twitter at Mattalk_podcast. All right, that's all of our guest stars, ladies and gentlemen. So let's move on in to talking a little bit about the episode itself. So, Jason, are you ready to give an opinion? Your opinion, and only your opinion, so help you.
Let's testify. Woo-hoo!
Let's testify. You're a little quick on the trigger on that one. Anyways,
I got to keep you on your toes.
There you go. The plot of this episode is a night out to see a magician leads to murder, and Ben must assist the magician accused of the killing. The opening scene, we just see a set of hands doing a bunch of different magician illusions. Are they called tricks? Because, you know, if there's only one thing I've learned from Arrested Development is the difference between a trick and an illusion.
An illusion, Michael.
Julie and Ben are on a date to see a magician. So we get a lot of different tricks with Daniel Fontaine on stage, along with his very pretty assistant, Sandy. And I noticed that, like, there's a scene where there's Rod and Rod Greenwood, and Daniel kind of have a little I guess, short exchange. And I was wondering, like, do you think there was a rivalry in the magic world? Like, oh, we're going to top your trick with another trick. What do you think?
Probably all wanted to outdo one another. Absolutely.
I'm assuming, as they will get into this, the more tricks you do, the more elaborate they are, the more likely is you're going to land a big gig. All right. In the back, Daniel and Sandy start to argue, and there is the insinuation that Sandy is seeing someone else. All right. So not only are they partners on stage, but they're partners off stage, if you will. And as they are arguing, I believe Sandy slaps him as he got a little handsy, and Arthur Wolf interrupts to tell Sandy that, excuse me, your gentleman caller is here. And then that leads to, of course, Daniel leaving to going to his particular dressing room. I almost said locker room. Dressing room, not a locker room. And as he does, he passes the great Ziegler, who's in the hallway, and he makes a flippant comment. Here's my thing. Again, if they're a couple, like, off stage, why do they have separate dressing rooms? Wouldn't they just have one?
That's a good question. Probably not. You know, you want to keep yourself separated a little bit. Because if you're a couple, you work together, you got to have your own space.
Well, and I was going to say, do you think they're keeping it hush-hush from all the other magicians?
Maybe. Seemed like everybody knew who she was dating.
Well, right. We're going to get to that in a few minutes. So I don't know. I just thought it was, it was a little bit odd. But so we're going to get to what I think is a great series of editing. I like this a lot. So we're going to go to Julie and Ben are watching more magic. And as you said, Ben Matlock is fascinated by it. We cut to a scene of Dan showering, and somebody steals a knife out of his travel case. We go back to Ben and Julie becoming part of an illusion. You know, the whole thing with the mighty Martell, that I'm going to guess what you have in the hand. Then we cut to a scene of Sandy getting ready. We cut back to Ben and Julie, where they're like, oh, he's never going to get this. And it's a bird feather, by the way, just to let you all know. Then we cut back to Sandy being killed. And then we cut back to Martell saying, oh, it is indeed the feather. And I really like that. I thought that was something different in terms of the cinematography of the episode. I kind of dug that.
For sure.
Well, Dan stumbles onto Sandy's corpse, and Ziegler finds Dan bent over the body. And in the next scene, Ben is summoned to come talk to Daniel. Well, at least he didn't touch anything, Jason, but he was bent over the corpse.
Yes. That's also a bad look.
It is. Well, the next scene, we see the cops are dusting for prints, and Ben shows up as Lieutenant Bob Brooks is there. And I like that Bob Brooks could figure out the rings, the magic rings, but yet Ben couldn't. I thought that was pretty funny, and that's going to be something we're going to see throughout this episode.
I just love the wonderment on Ben's face through the whole opening sequence. Like, he looks like a kid watching magic for the first time. Like, oh my god, how did they do that? Like, it's fantastic acting.
Oh, absolutely. And kudos to Andy Griffith for capturing that essence of somebody that's totally blown away by what they're seeing.
Unless he is blown away. Maybe this is the first time he saw magic. Who knows?
It's very method. Well, Julie is assigned to the case, and we both agreed we get some fantastic interaction between the two of them. I mean, we really do, and I think that's been a highlight, and this episode is going to be no difference. However, this is kind of a little bit, and this is me being personal and not trying to make jokes or anything, but I really did find it a little bit off-putting, and I always have found this off-putting, by the way, that Ben talks about how Sandy is everyone's girl, and kind of insinuates that she bounces around from men to men, and I don't know. I always kind of have always had a problem with this, even, as a teenager and in college and now in adulthood. Like, I don't understand why men can sleep around all they want, and that's fine. But if a woman does it, oh my God, she's a tramp, she's a trollop, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know. I've always had a problem with that.
Yeah, I can see that. But I would say the same thing about a man personally. So
Okay. Good point. Valid point. Michelle shows up, and she also has more evidence about Sandy and her lovers. And Ben thinks that the illusion with the levitation on the sword, that illusion, there's something about that that's going to lead into this case. So a little foreshadowing for folks.
Ben looks at it as a negative thing. He seems always super into the fact that people can have multiple people.
What?
Ben. He's always surprised and wonderment about people having, multiple people.
Oh, multiple sex partners.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. I was confused for a minute. I'm like, oh, okay. All right.
I was trying to keep it PC for our audience.
I mean, sexual partners, that's PC, it's okay. And I also liked how Michelle knows how to manipulate the rings, and yet Ben cannot. So again, that gave me a chuckle.
She fooled around with it when she was a kid.
That's what Bob Brooks said too, which I thought was a good callback as well. Yeah. Okay, so Michelle interviews Arthur Wolf, who is the manager of this nightclub that features only magic. And he kind of rejects the idea that his relationship with Sandy, whom he had a relationship with her, he was the first one to hire her, and he's like, that's nothing. That's complete malarkey. That's nothing to worry about. And then Ben walks in on the amazing Ziegler catching a bullet with his teeth, which... Again, we talk about the marvel that is on the face of Ben Matlock. He can't believe what he's seeing, man.
Yeah, Penn and Teller did that when I saw them, and I was the same thing. I was like,
well, here's what blows Ben's mind even more. I think we go to a shot in the back where they're in Ziegler's dressing room, and he himself is an illusion because he has a fake beard, fake sideburns, a wig, fake muscles, platform shoes, and I think that Ben's reaction to all of that was epic as well because he can't believe what he's seeing. Ziegler claims that he was backstage the whole time and that he only saw one person enter and leave Sandy's dressing room, and that, of course, was Daniel Fontaine. So that's going to be that's going to be the sticking point, so to speak, of this whole case, is that Ziegler claims he was the only one, he being Daniel, to go in and out of that dressing room. And now, let's enter Tyler Hudson.
Yeah, he's actually in this episode.
He strolls on into a pool hall, and he hustles a gentleman that we later find out was Jimmy Collier, but he hustles him big. Listen, I'm not surprised that Tyler Hudson's good at billiards. Were you?
No.
I would say of all the games out there, Tyler is good at cards. He's probably good at dominoes, and and as we see, he's very good at billiards.
Absolutely. I mean, he's the whiz.
Great callback. Thank you. Well, he beats Jimmy Collier pretty well and then offers to work with Jimmy because Jimmy is linked to this idea of these robberies of these very fancy houses, and that has a connection to people that are going to the club, because you have to be a member to go to the Magic Club. And so Tyler offers his help in this particular endeavor because he can give Jimmy an alibi. And Jimmy said, "Nope, we got to go together on a mission, and then I'll let you know whether you're accepted into the crew or not." Julie and Ben are still investigating around the club, and they find a trunk. And they look at the trunk. They open it to be startled by the fact that Rod Greenwood is practicing his illusion, and he's handcuffed inside the trunk. So what does Ben do? He trumps the creepiness by saying, "Oh, Julie, you go ahead. I'll be around in a moment." And he sits and waits for Rod to come out of the trunk. Jason, what do you think about this whole scene here?
Foreshadowing. I thought it was fine.
I mean, Rod's alibi is that he was in the trunk on stage during the murder, so it couldn't be him, right? But I do like how Ben later tries to figure out how the trunk works. Like, he's there, he asks, if I remember correctly, Daniel to be like, "Hey man, is there any way that this could be, rigged or gimmicked or anything so he could escape and kill Sandy and then be back on stage?" So Tyler and Jimmy are planning a heist. And so Tyler says, "Just give me 7 minutes and I'll be gone and I'll be back." So he leaves. Unfortunately, the alarm is tripped. Jimmy is nowhere to be found, and Tyler ends up getting arrested.
Not my man Tyler. Like, he's finally back on the show for more than a quick cameo, and set him up.
Yeah, but he's got some more scenes here in a little bit.
And that's what I'm saying. He's in this episode. It's fantastic.
Mm-hmm. We go to the first courtroom scene where Julie and Ben are presenting their opening statements, and I can't believe. Look, I know we have a great time on this podcast poking fun at Ben and his antics, but why are you going to talk to the jury and do the magic scarf gimmick? Like, why?
Because he found out how to do it. He wanted an audience. What better way to have an audience than do it in front of the jury? Because the trial is centered around magic in some degree, which we'll find out more about later. But he figured out how to do it. And he wanted to do it for somebody, and they're forced to sit there and watch him. And if you see an older gentleman outside pulling scarves out of his sleeve, are you going to stop and watch? No, you're not. But if you're in a courtroom, those people are there. Like, you got your audience. You can do it.
I love that your reasoning is, well, he has a captive audience. He's just going to go ahead and do it.
Well, plus, like I said, magic is the center of this case, and he is adding some foreshadowing to the jury about what's to come.
Oh my goodness! All right,
this episode should have been called Foreshadowing, because there's a lot of foreshadowing.
Yeah, there's a lot of clues to figure out who's involved in the murder. Yes, there may be more so than any other episode. But okay, to go back on something you just said, if I walked out of my house and there was an older gentleman on the sidewalk pulling scarves out of his sleeves, I'm watching that.
Are you?
I am. Then I'm going to ask this elderly man, "Why are you standing outside my house doing this? Who sent you?" Well, let's talk about Ziegler's on the stand. And he's, again, claiming he's the only one that was backstage that can verify that it's Fontaine that came in and out of that room. But eventually, Ben produces a receipt for some pharmaceuticals, and the delivery time is stamped 9:08, which is right when the murder was happening. So clearly, Ziegler's full of crap. But here's my question. Why are you delivering pharmaceuticals to a nightclub that features magic? And bigger question, was Sandy using pharmaceuticals? Now, I don't know about you, Jason, but I found this, and I know people are going to say you're being picky, John, but I found this to be a problem with this episode. Okay, I'm going to reveal a little bit of what I'm going to say about this episode. I was bothered by this. Why mention this if it's never going to be brought back up in the episode? Because I felt like, okay, this is going to be something cool. Somebody's dealing pharmaceuticals out of the club or something, and it's just a throwaway line. Am I being too picky?
Now, it probably had some context to the final wrap up. Maybe that they were also doing that as on top of what they were doing that we find out they were doing at the end, and they just decided to cut it at the end because they had, already a lot in that wrap up. But
I don't.
it was probably a callback later in the episode. Like we said, we want to see the cut scenes of some of these shows.
Okay, all right, I'll give you that. Maybe it was something that they edited out, but it bothered me. It really did, because I thought, how cool would that be? Because when we get to the actual, the actual motive for the murder, I'm like, that would have been so much better to have in there that there's also some type of drug dealing going on. But
it probably was. It's probably wrapped up with all the other stuff that we find out at the end.
Here we go to what I think is the best scene in the episode. Jimmy Collier is arrested, and he's put in the same cell as Tyler Hudson and another inmate. Tyler gets mad, and he's roughing up Jimmy. He wants to know who set him up, man. And the other convict, he pulls out a shank, and it's time. It's a knife fight now, man. And they fight back and forth, and what do you know? Tyler stabs the guy right in the gut, and he dies on his cot. And then Jimmy reveals that Arthur Wolf, the manager of the club, is who set Tyler up. And my question was, the cops never hear any of this ruckus going on, and they don't come and intervene. You know why? They don't need to, Jason, because guess what?
They're in on it.
They're in on it. It was an elaborate ruse.
Yeah, I kind of predicted it was a ruse as soon as he pulled out the thing. I'm like, oh, Tyler's going to use this as a way to scare the other guy, because there's no way Tyler's going to stab a guy.
Well, here's my thing then. Because at first I was kind of like, he got arrested. That was a mistake. Maybe the arrest, it was all part of the plan. Tyler goes and purposely trips the alarm. He gets caught. They set up this elaborate ruse. This is fantastic. This is a conspiracy unlike any that we've seen on Matlock. I loved it.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. Whole sequence.
We go back to the courtroom in which Arthur Wolf is on the stand. And what do you know? Ben does another trick, Jason.
Yes. I love Ben and his tricks.
I
just wish at the end of this episode we could have seen him figure out the rings.
Yes, I agree wholeheartedly. That would have been so cool. Well, Ben does this credit card trick, all right, and he basically reveals that Putty indents the numbers on the putty, and then he can recite them as a mentalist. By the way, side note, I don't like how Arthur Wolf just breaks the aura, breaks kayfabe, if you're going to use a wrestling term. Just basically shatters the illusion of the illusion. I didn't dig that. I would think that somebody needs to beat up Arthur Wolf if that happened in real life. I mean, I'm just saying. So basically, Ben theorizes that Sandy's making imprints of house keys when that is the object that's used. And so then she makes a copy of the key so that the burglaries can happen. All right, Jason, here's my question. I'm pretty handy, when it comes to doing some home improvement stuff. But I don't think that how would you be able to hold that putty exact to get the key to make the indentation and then go to you just stroll into a hardware store and go, hey, this piece of putty here, can you make a copy of this key? Like, that just seems...
Maybe they have a key guy.
Oh, they have somebody like a crooked key guy that's on staff?
Yeah.
That's the only way that's got to work.
And maybe the putty hardens after so long.
Oh, that's a good point.
They could put in some liquid metal and make a mold.
Okay, maybe that's...
I mean, we're really getting into this, deeply. I don't even know if they had a way to do this back in the 80s, but,
That was exactly it. Like, how do you make the form, and how do you make sure that putty never moves? But you got a good point there. Putty might dry out if you leave it out.
Yeah.
Well, nonetheless, Arthur and Sandy are the ringleaders of this burglary ring, and Sandy wants to make money, wants more money, from the ring. And Arthur reveals, are you ready for this? Here's a big twist. Arthur reveals that he was on stage during the murder. And Ben goes, how can you prove it? He goes, because you're my alibi, Mr. Matlock. He was the masked magician known as Martel.
Dun, dun, dun.
By the way, on the next particular quick scene, I like how Julie looks like so pleased with herself that Ben got shut down, if you will.
Yeah, because Ben was so pleased with the magic trick that he did, and then he got shut down with the alibi.
Do you think Julie at times is sitting at that table going, geez, seriously, Ben, we're going to do this? You're going to pull handkerchiefs out of your sleeve. You're going to pull a quarter from behind somebody's ear.
Honestly, I'm waiting for Julie to do some kind of shenanigan. Like, it's working for him. Like, why isn't she trying to do something?
That's a good point. Why did she steal something from his playbook? Yeah. Ben is in Sandy's dressing room, and he's kind of playing around with the various different props, if you will, tricks, gimmicks, illusions, whatever. And he gets an idea. So we go back to the courtroom where Rod is on the stand. And I like that Rod is not going to break the secret. He's not going to reveal things. So then Ben says, well, we can only go one place where your career won't be ruined. Yep.
Field trip. Permission slips are signed. Let's go. Do they have like a bus they take?
I don't know. I have no idea. Like, I think you would have to, because you couldn't have, like, I don't know. This annoys me. I don't like the field trips because
I love the field trips.
It's so preposterous, man.
Objection. Slandering the witness. John Orlando. Sustained.
Look, so they take a field trip to the theater, and again, I'm just not a fan of this, but
I wonder if they do this at all in real life.
No, there's no way that this can go on. There's no way. No possible way. But
I don't think so either. But again, we're not 100% sure. We're like 99.9% sure that this could never happen. But hey, if you're a lawyer out there and you want to tell us if this could possibly ever happen, please email us at benmattalk@gmail.com. And if you want to come on and talk to us, we would love to speak to you. Again, you can email us at benmattalk@gmail.com.
Yeah, we're looking for somebody to analyze some of the litigious work of one Ben Matlock. And by the way, you can also find us on Facebook at Mattalk Podcast or on Twitter, Mattalk_podcast. All right, so Tyler and Ben are going to reenact Rod's trick. All right. And so Tyler gets placed in the trunk. They shut the lid. And then all of a sudden, when they open it, he's not there. And in fact, he appears stage left. He walks right past Michelle. And so it's theorized that there are two trunks. One of them has a false bottom. And so Rod practices with the regular trunk, but when it's showtime, he gets the false bottom. So Ben theorizes he gets out of the trunk through the trap door in the stage. He goes, kills Sandy, and then returns, and nobody's the wiser. But Rod's like, I'm handcuffed, dude. And there's a time limit, so that's not working. But Ben ends up getting cuffed and chained up, and he gets put in the trunk. And as Ben frolics in the trunk, he eventually comes out because he has the key.
Where did he get the key? You're about to find out.
Well, he got the key from the magic bag, where it has like a little like extra pocket in it that you can drop stuff in. And then part of the illusion is it doesn't come out the other side. No matter how many times you stick your hand in, it's not there until it's ready to be there. And so Ben theorizes that Rod was in Sandy's dressing room. He was killing her. He dropped the key and he couldn't find it, but he just left it because he figured it would be insignificant. And then what dooms him probably the most is that he had another key made the next day after the murder. So, Jason, what did you think about this whole diatribe about how Rod killed her and the theories and whatnot?
Made sense. Like I said earlier, foreshadowing. I liked this episode because you could, in theory, figure out who it was throughout the course of the episode.
Okay, but my question is this. Rod, what is his part in this whole giant burglary ring? Like, that's never discussed. So he killed her for what reason? See, that's why I think that the pharmaceutical angle would have been much better to go with. But nonetheless, Dan is found not guilty. And then our closing scene is Julie taking Ben to dinner. And she says she's going to make him disappear. Because I'll be honest, Jason, I was waiting all episode long for some magic puns. Glad they managed to fit one in. Jason, you have anything that you want to add in?
Nope, not yet.
All right, then let's get ready for our closing statements. This is the part of the podcast where we will rate this episode using a gavel system. 5 gavels for a great episode, 1 gavel for a completely awful episode. Not only will we discuss why we rated this episode that way, but we'll also justify it. So, Jason, with that, you want to go first?
Sure. I love this episode. I loved everything about this episode. I thought it was fantastic. Didn't really even notice the scene that John had such a hang up about. I like the fact that for once you could actually, in theory, figure it out along the way if you had that keen eye. I did not figure it out before the end. However, you could have, because there's clues and foreshadowing and so forth. So yeah, I loved it. 4 out of 5. 4.5 out of 5. And Tyler's back in this episode, like as a regular cast member, not as a glorified cameo.
I gave it 4 gavels. I really liked it too. I thought the comedy with Ben, like trying to figure out the magic rings, Ben's enthusiasm for magic. Again, we get that great relationship between Julie March and Ben Matlock. I enjoyed Tyler Hudson's jail fight and the whole big swerve behind it. I think the only negatives I had were, one, the field trip again. I'm kind of hung up on that. But the bigger issue for me was the motive for the murder. Like, again, I feel that you brought in a tool, if you will, the pharmaceutical stuff would have made more sense in my mind than just, she's part of this ring and I'm Rod and she left me and I'm just going to kill her. Like, I don't know. That didn't work for me too much. All right, Jason. Let's talk about our own personal podcasting projects. Tell us, what's happening with the Three Geeks podcast, dude?
Geeks podcast. We're live every Sunday at 12 o'clock. Listen to yesterday's episode of the Three Geeks podcast live. If you just want to hear the interview we had on the wonderful and talented Chris Candy, who is the son of the late, great John Candy. It's about the 1 hour mark where Chris joins us. So definitely check that out. Listen to the whole episode if language doesn't offend you. We talk a lot about movies, television, and everything that we're doing in our regular day-to-day lives. You guys can find us on all of the social medias at 3 Geeks Podcast and at 3geeks.ninja.
And the PVD Cast is my own personal podcasting project as well. You can find it at pvdcast.com or through all of those major podcasting outlets. The episode that's up right now is kind of my review along with my partner DJ Joey Blaze. We review what happened last week at WrestleMania, finding out if we were right on some of the predictions that we had and some of the predictions that maybe didn't go the way that we thought we would. But it's a fun episode. Definitely check it out. And with that being said, I mean, Jason, let's get on out of here, man.
Get out of here, man. This is a good episode. Everybody be safe. Love each other.
All right. And as they say in court, nothing further. The following has been a joint production between the Three Geeks Podcast and John Orlando Enterprises, LLC, copyright 2022.